Mary Todd Lincoln's time as First Lady of the United States ended 160 years ago when her husband, President Abraham Lincoln, was assassinated. But a comedy version of her story, yes, it's a comedy, is now a hit on Broadway. Mo Rocca has our tickets.
For God's sake, Mary, how would it look for the First Lady of the United States to be flitting about the stage right now in the ruins of war?
How would it look? Sensational!
Oh, Mary may be Broadway's most unlikely offering this season.
Why are you so impossible?
Why am I
A wildly over-the-top, not at all historically accurate look at First Lady Mary Todd Lincoln, written by and starring Cole Escola.
Hi, picking up tickets for the big play?
Oh, Mary is a broad comedy about Mary Todd Lincoln and her secret passion of becoming a cabaret star. Meanwhile, her husband Abe is just wrapping up the Civil War.
Right.
And so he's more concerned with keeping the country together.
No, it's inappropriate. We're at war.
With who?
The South!
Of what?
It's not a revival, it has no movie stars,
Well, speak for yourself, Mo.
and it's a smash hit.
The thing I love more than anything
you
on
dare
earth
say it!
is cabaret!
It's breaking box office records. What does that say?
Inflation is high. That's all it says.
And that ticket prices are outrageous.
And that ticket prices are outrageous.
So when did you come up with the idea?
In 2009, I sent an email to myself that said, what if Abraham Lincoln's assassination wasn't such a bad thing for Mary Todd? You know, like Mary starting over, like, now I'm single, I can date, you know.
When you keep me off the stage, you make the whole world miserable!
But this fever dream Mary remained just a dream for years.
I loved this idea so much, I didn't want it to get on paper and for it to disappoint me. To disappoint me, not just the audience, but like me. There are certain ideas that you're just like, oh, I don't want to plant this seed because what if it's an ugly flower?
Escola eventually wrote the play. Oh, Mary opened to rapturous reviews downtown, quickly moved uptown to Broadway, and just this week earned 5 Tony nominations, including 2 for 38-year-old Escola, for Best Play and Best Actor.
Where to?
Broadway.
It's all a long way from rural Oregon, where Escola was raised. The family had little money, with a Vietnam veteran father, Escola says, who suffered from mental illness.
When I was maybe 5 years old, my father chased us out of the home with a shotgun. He was having some sort of alcoholic, manic break and thought that there were people after him. And so he chased my mother, my brother, and I out of the trailer, and then we moved out and didn't come back.
The family moved in with Cole's grandmother.
Then her and I shared a bedroom, and I remember that's when she taught me to read.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and she was in the beginning stages of Alzheimer's, so she would repeat stories a lot, but I loved them. I loved her stories. I realize now, when she would tell these stories, we were like meeting in the middle of her memory. Like she was living out the fantasy of her childhood, and I was also living out my fantasy of being a young girl on a farm in Alberta.
and you didn't mind that she was repeating the stories?
No, because she would remember certain details in a new telling or like leave something out, and then I got to be like, you know, and you were wearing a dress, right, Grandma?
And is it right that she gave you a Barbie when you were 5?
Yeah, she gave me my first Barbie. Just completely took me at face value when I was doing something that wasn't what boys were supposed to do.
Her understanding proved prescient. Escola now uses they-them pronouns.
For those who don't understand and want to understand, would you explain why you use they-them pronouns?
I have always felt not male, not female. And, you know, it's funny because recently I saw photos of me on Instagram. The comments were like, what is that? Like, that's not a man. Well, it sure as hell ain't a woman either. And I was like, exactly. Like, you do get it.
Likewise, Escola's comedic identity has never been in doubt.
I mean, comedically, have you always done your own thing? Or
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So there was never a time where you thought, I need to be more like this person to make people respond to me?
No. It would be like trying to speak German when I don't actually know any German. It has to make me laugh in order for it to even have a chance of making someone else laugh.
Escola began performing in community theater back in Oregon and eventually scraped together the money to make it to New York.
So it was New York or bust?
It was New York or bust.
At first attending college and living at the 92nd Street Y. It was a short stint.
Why were you here only 9 months?
I had to drop out because they wouldn't let me take out any more loans. I guess I was so poor that they were like, you'll never be able to pay this back. I felt like there was something wrong with me that I couldn't afford to go to school. That's the thing that makes me the most angry about being poor, is that just this innate sense that it's a moral failing or an innate thing that's broken in you.
Escola eventually did make it back to New York to stay,
Puka introduced me to the world of dogfighting and death metal.
gaining a fan base with online videos.
No, I knew there was something you all were hiding from me.
And then on TV, playing a range of deranged yet delightful characters.
Hey, you're glowing. I want whatever you've taken, in addition to whatever I've already taken.
And then along came Mary.
The only thing I care about in the whole world.
The children.
You don't come to see this show and go, oh, there were layers and layers of development people that were saying, no, you've got to tweak it for this audience and do this for that audience.
No, there is something special about the fact that I wrote this for me and my friends and for my audience that I've had in downtown venues and stuff. And the fact that it's successful, I don't know, it makes it that much sweeter. It really does.